As we count down to 2020, we're putting the spotlight on a lot of startups that are going to hog the limelight in the new year. Yes, we have a crystal ball, but we also have impaneled guests and experts who make that projection for us. And today I'm featuring a startup which has impressed Sequoia so much so that it has put money into this startup. And the person who first told me about this startup and said it's a good idea to feature them because they will certainly be very hot in 2020 was none other than Rajan Anandan. Joining me is BharatPe founder and CEO Ashneer Grover. BharatPe is in the business of digitizing merchant transactions. They carry out nearly 3.5% of overall transactions of the UPI. That's a massive sum. Ashneer Grover, welcome to Startup Central. BharatPe, do you want to walk us through it, how the idea came about? You're carrying out 40 million transactions a month, 3.5% of the UPI. That's huge. And I'm guessing you have big plans going forward.
Thanks, Nayantara, for having me. We started the business 15 months back, and the idea was pretty simple. In India, the small merchants are working on very thin margins, and therefore they don't have the capability to give an MDR or a commission for accepting payments. Through UPI, there was a method of making acceptance of payments free for these merchants, and that's what we are solving. And the whole idea is make payments free, get a view on what business they are doing, and then go back to the same merchants for lending to them. And that's the simple idea that we've been sort of carrying out over the last 15 months.
And the last 15 months, you have obviously been able to scale a lot, and reached and the kind of scaling that we don't see startups being able to achieve in 15 months. It must have come with challenges. How did you overcome them? What were the initial challenges?
Yeah, so it's not been that easy as probably I'm making it out to be. It has had its own share of challenges. The first of all was making investors believe that there's a business to be made out of this, right? Because when we started, Paytm and PhonePe were pretty big. They were both valuing themselves beyond $10 billion with billions in banks. And here we were, a small company, claiming that we could put out interoperable QR codes throughout India, and you would have consumers come to offline shops and again pay through UPI. So UPI was in its initial days. We had big competition, really big companies. We also have Google Pay and Amazon and WhatsApp were supposed to come in. And how do we create a niche for us among this clutter was one of the key challenges. I think what we have done smartly is stay focused on the merchant ecosystem, right? So I believe the consumer ecosystem is overcrowded. You need at least $2 billion to even be in the standing to or to be a player in that, whereas the merchant space was slightly wider open. And that's the space we chose, and we stayed focused on the merchants. Gave them the true proposition, which is free payments plus capital, and that's all that they need to do business, and so it's worked out pretty well.
What do you mean by you gave them capital?
So think of it this way, in Indian retail, 15% is e-commerce or organized commerce together. 85% is unorganized offline commerce. If you're an organized player or if you're an e-commerce player, you have access to capital to grow the business, right? But if you're an offline player, you don't have access to capital. So you don't have banks lending to you. You definitely don't have VCs or private equity firms coming over and trying to fund you for growth. But these guys are aspiring for growth as well, right? So where do they get access to capital to do their business? And that is the space that we're targeting. Most of the merchants that we target have so far used unorganized credit to do business. But what they do is when they start doing business with us on our QR, we are able to generate a history of the merchant, and on that history we go back and lend to them. So as we speak, we have already lent out more than $10 million to 10,000 plus merchants, and this is working capital finance for them.
So, if that means you're also having to burn a lot of cash, right, to sustain this business model. Do you have your investors watching you like a hawk, saying when you're going to reach profitability, be obsessed with EBITDA?
Of course, all investors always keep you to the point. Thankfully for us, we've been able to maintain very low burn as against any of the players that we compete with, right? So, for some of the larger startups in India, my monthly burn would be their 2 day burn essentially. So we've been very, very cognizant. We have kept things very efficient. My acquiring cost of a merchant is probably the lowest in the world, at $3 a merchant, right? And therefore, what that translates into is we do not burn as much cash as our size might tell you. And the fact is, on lending, you always make money, right? So I think we are very well positioned in terms of where we are tracking on our plan to move towards profitability. But it will come in its due course over the next 21 to 24 months.
Ashneer, I've got to ask you this question. If you have been able to have the cheapest cost for acquiring a merchant at $3, that you're saying is, the cheapest in the world, can you share with us how you've managed to do it?
Yeah, so one thing we have done differently than most internet businesses tend to do is identify whether an online acquiring would better or an offline acquiring would work better. In our business, we figured out very early that it works out much cheaper and better if we send out a feet on street agent to acquire a merchant, because it's as simple as this. You walk across the streets of India, any city you pick up, the ground floor are all shops, right? So I know that my product is relevant for each and every kind of establishment. It's relevant for a grocery shop, it's relevant for a saloon, or a food and beverage outlet or a restaurant. So what we have done is we've built up a team of 2,000 plus feet on street agents who go shop by shop, make the merchant understand the proposition of the QR, what the benefits are, and activate the QR there and then itself. So I think we've been smart in that, and of course the fact that we did not fall in the trap of charging a MDR or trying to make commission on payments, but we focused on making money on the lending piece while we focus on technically distributing our QR pan India as against selling it.
And okay, so that is a business model, and that's how you've been able to, I guess, achieve this milestone of 15,000 crore rupees worth of transactions in a year. Ashneer, you're a Salman Khan fan?
Oh, I'm a fan of whatever works, right? Yeah, but I'd been sort of itching to basically take Salman Khan since the Grofers days, because when I was at Grofers, Big Baskets used to have Shah Rukh Khan, and I thought that worked well in terms of creating a brand for them. So yeah, there at some level behind my head, somewhere inside my head, there was a thought of taking Salman. But more importantly, for the segment that I am targeting, which is the shopkeepers, he's a demigod, right? So we were very clear that let's take him and reach out to the merchants and create a emotional connect beyond just the basic product.
So, yeah, there is certainly a trend I've seen of startups looking out to the Bollywood stars. In fact, yesterday we had a startup, Ed is Fun, which has managed to even get money from Amitabh Bachchan. It's in the edtech space, which made me think that, you've got Shah Rukh Khan in Baiju. Why is everyone trying to teach kids and educate kids with older Bollywood stars, and now you've got BharatPe, which has, of course, signed up Salman Khan as a brand ambassador. Ashneer, earlier in the week, I also had Katha book. We're also going to be reaching out to OK Credit. The question I'm trying to get at is that, most of you seem to be in a similar space. Have I got that right? And therefore, are you also going to see, I'm just naming 3, there are many more that are mushrooming. Is this going to become a crowded space?
Absolutely not. I think Khata Book and OK Credit are contemporaries in the sense that they would have started the business at the same time, and therefore people tend to bucket us. But the smarter of investors and folks who know the nitty-gritties of the business understand we are in completely different businesses. I am in the business of ensuring the merchant accepts payments, and thereafter on the money which is coming in, we are able to lend to them and give them more financial services. Khata Book and OK Credit, on the other hand, are approaching a different set of merchants. So they are not necessarily your retail front merchants, but these could be traders, who sit in warehouses or working remotely, and they're trying to address that problem from a bookkeeping perspective. So the way I say is, we are technically a challenger or a digi bank for the small merchants because we are in the money flow and in the flow of things. OK Credit and Khata Book are on the other hand only on the data flow, and they will have to jump a few hoops to reach where we are.
Before I let you go, Ashneer, if there has been one lesson in 2019 for all investors, all startups, entrepreneurs, it is that you need to obsess about your EBITDA. EBITDA is not a dirty word. You've got to look at the bottom line and don't even dream of an IPO unless you're profitable. I thought this is basics of banking, investment banking, but it has turned out to be the biggest lesson thanks to WeWork and SoftBank. For all those that are watching you at the moment, you've had a very successful career in the universe of startups. Before this, of course, you were with Grofers. By when do you think BharatPe is going to be profitable? Because according to your last filing with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, you did have and that's your entire this thing, the loss of 24 crores.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to understand that the first 2 to 3 years of any business is an investment phase, right? Unfortunately for the startups, what that investment does not go and sit in the balance sheet, but it flows down as a loss in the P&L, right? And that's the stage at which we are. Having said that, we are very clear about what our monetization is, which is purely on lending and the margin that we make on lending. As per our plans, 21 months from now, on a monthly basis, we should be getting profitable, and that's what we are razor focused on and executing upon.
Okay, and with that, Ashneer, you got any New Year resolutions or any mistakes that you made in 2019 which made you go, oh damn, and that's going to be a resolution for 2020?
My resolution is I don't want to go back to the market to raise any more funds if I can help it in 2020. I think, thankfully 2019 has been a good year to close at. We've executed well and investors have shown good faith in us. So I think for the next 2 years, I'm going to be down and down executing on what the plan is. And so the new resolution is no more fundraisers in the immediate future.
No more fundraisers in the immediate future. So stop chasing Ashneer. He's not interested in your money. He's interested in growing his business organically at the moment. Thanks, Ashneer, for joining us here. That's BharatPe, the journey. As you just heard, the cheapest acquisition of a merchant globally. And he literally started by going door to door, ground floor. I thought that was very, very interesting and quite candid as well. With that, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned. On the other side, we've got a startup for you, which is tied up with IOC to guess do what? To deliver diesel and petrol to your doorstep. Yes, that might soon very much be possible. that interesting startup coming up on the other side.